Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. How are you all today? How are you doing? Joyce Keller live for you. And for some reason, I just lost my co-host, but hopefully he'll be back. In any case, we are here for you, for your intuitive comfort and for your happiness. I see Dr. Scott is back. Hello, Dr. Scott.
Hello. I'm sorry, I had to step away from the desk for a moment. Can you hear okay?
Not really. You could be a little bit clearer, but that's okay. We're very, very happy that you're back because I saw that you dropped off, and I had a moment there where I thought that you were going to abandon us. Okay, I wanted to say hello. Welcome, everyone. It's Joyce and Dr. Scott. Actually, it's Joyce Keller and Dr. Scott Keller. Dr. Scott is my son. I'm very happy and very proud to have him as part of my life and part of my show. Oh, I have to tell you also, if you go to my website, which is joycekeller.com, see that I also do a show with my other child on YouTube, which is Speak, S-P-A-K Project, and it's, I can remember what she calls it, I don't know. I think it's Joyce Keller and Lane Keller, and we're welcoming in the Arcturians. We're delivering messages from the Arcturian teachers. So it's an amazing show. There are a lot of them on YouTube. Just put in my name, Joyce Keller, and a lot will come up. And I don't usually check it out, but I'm assuming that's correct. Okay, before we speak with Dr. Keller, again, I'm Joyce Keller. I'm available for readings. I've written about 9 or 10 books. I say 9 or 10 because one was republished.
13.
Maybe, I don't know. But
don't you have more than 10?
I don't know because some of them have been reprinted from hardcover to softcover, and they made some changes. So look, they're out there. They're on Amazon. They're in your bookstores. They're in libraries. People are still looking for them. And, probably of all the books I've written, my first was Calling All Angels. Probably my favorite is 7 Steps to Heaven, which tells you about how you can communicate spiritually with those folks you've loved and lost. Okay, a lot of people are grieving now, as you know. The planet's absolutely going crazy with this whole COVID thing. So I cannot wait to speak with Dr. Keller because actually the only time I speak with him is when we're on the radio, so I take advantage of that. In any case, today is August 19th, 2020. See it clearly, 2020. And the moon went into the sign of Virgo today at 4:20 this morning. Now, there was a new moon yesterday, which is great. This is the time of new beginnings. And it's like every time there's a new moon, it's like starting over. And the moon changes signs about every 2.5 days. So we keep having this recycling of energy and new opportunities. Before Dr. Scott speaks with us, I wanted to say I'm not a political person. You know that. Here's the crazy thing. If you vote by ballot, mail-in ballot, at the bottom of each ballot is a barcode. And at the start of that barcode is the tiniest letter that you cannot see that says either D for Democrat or R for Republican. Now, apparently, a lot of postal workers and other people who shall remain unnamed have mysteriously allowed many, maybe millions of ballots to disappear. So try not to do it that way. If you have to vote by mail, do it, but it's better if you don't do it that way. You should vote in any case. Try to know don't just vote. Try to know actually who you're voting for and why, and have a good reason for it, okay? That said, again, I'm JoyceKeller.com. The lines are still open. I have a couple of lines open. You can call in now, the number here, if you'd like to give us a little jingle. You're not ready. Okay, you're still looking for a pencil? It's 516-666-8448. I'll give that to you again. 516-666-8448. And we have the lovely Dr. Keller on the line with us. He's not only a great healer and chiropractor. I've been hearing terrific things about you, Scott, about the readings that you're doing and the intuitive. I'm very proud. What can I say? Tell us about yourself in a much more concise way than I can. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know how to live up to that beautiful intro. Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay? I'm using different. Can you hear me okay? I have a different sound system going on today. Does it sound okay?
It's okay. If we can't hear you, I'll tell you. You're breaking up a little, but that's okay. We'll fill in the words ourselves. Okay. Go ahead.
I'll hold the microphone a little bit closer. Yes, thank you for that nice intro. I wanted to remind everybody, once a week we get together to do this half-an-hour program, and our agenda, as we like to remind people as part of our mission, is to be able to change the vibration on the planet and move us from third dimensional vibration into the fifth. We're here to remind you, at least my portion of the show is designed to be able to utilize great gifts that were left to us by the ancient Vedics, and most specifically in the form of astrology and Ayurveda, as ways to improve and create abundance in all aspects of our lives. That includes in health, that includes in relationships, as well as karmic and career paths. Each week we've been talking about the unbelievable arrangement of squares and configurations that are going on. Ironic that we should have started the second generation of this show right around 6 months ago when all the trouble started with these squares. So you gave a great request to keep things simple. I have a quick little update about what's going on astrologically, because there is some good news on the horizon, and especially this week. I think the big news. You've already touched on a little bit of it, and I want to clarify something, and I want to ask you your opinion. As you know, I've studied astrology for 30 years. Well, I've been studying since I was 4 years old, since you started teaching me, but I've been using astrology and Ayurveda as a way of creating more diagnostic information on a medical front, because as a physician, we use it as a major diagnostic tool. You know, the interesting thing about astrology and Ayurveda, you go to school, medical and chiropractic school for 9 years, and you go into practice for 30 years, and those years of clinical diagnosis, I actually get more clinical information from a person's Ayurvedic profile and their astrological natal chart. And with us in the studio today, I have my wonderful new patient and client, Leslie Morris, who we just did her chart, and I'll share a little bit about that.
Hi, Leslie.
Without further ado, Hi. She's here with us in the studio, and she's getting ready for her treatment. We're going to continue her own personal astrological and Ayurvedic profile. But today, the big news, of course, things have been so difficult for us with these 7 planets squaring. The big news, I think, is that we have a new moon in Leo, which I guess begins today, if I'm not mistaken.
Wait a second. Hold everything. I think hold on, Scott. You're very close. The new moon, I'll give you the exact time, was yesterday, the 18th, at 10:42 at night. So it's almost today. It's close.
We're still in it. We're still deeply in it. But I think the bigger picture here is we're not going to get caught up. This is what happens to many astrologists. We get caught up in the actual specificity down to the hour. It doesn't work that way in astrology. These transits and these shifts take place over many days and weeks and months. The only one that we can really pinpoint with great hourly accuracy would be the moon. But for the sake of just moving forward with the show, let's just say we're in the throes of one of the most powerful new moons. It is unbelievable. And let me tell you, after what we've been through, we need it. So there's a considerable challenge at the same time as the new moon. But going back to the new moon in Leo, it means that, you know, all these configurations and people get so confused. Why don't we just say what to do during it? During a new moon in Leo, you're going to experience a greater sense of accomplishment and optimism. And one of the things I've noticed as a physician during the new, and one of the things I've noticed as a physician is that during the new moons in Leo, we tend to experience a greater sense of physical health and physical prowess. Now, that's really wonderful because let me tell you, I've been doing so many counseling sessions. I do readings here at our main office in Fort Lauderdale. For those of you who don't know, you're welcome to come in for reading, for treatment. We do medical, intuitive, astrological, and Ayurvedic readings. Our phone number here is 631-375-8702. And You can, of course, get us on the website, www.ask-drscott.com. Now, even with the good news of the moon in Leo, and there's another good configuration going on, there's a challenge. There's a considerable challenge happening between Mars, which is the god of war, and rules the planet, the sign Aries, which is squaring Pluto, the planet of death and transformation. Now, if you just use astrology as like an algebraic equation and you plug those two together, you got Mars in Aries, which Mars rules Aries, so it's got double the power. And Pluto, the planet of death and transformation, when those two are squaring, we know that we've got a major problem. We know that squares are the least favorable configuration in astrology. I was just talking to Leslie about this the other night. If you take a square and you consider you're driving down life's road at 70 miles an hour and you're asked to make a very sharp 90-degree turn, everybody in the car gets thrown all over the place and people spin out and cause a lot of mayhem and destruction. That's the definition of a square. So we've got a square going on with Mars and the planet of death and transformation. Everything about our transformation process that we're going through is going to be sped up right now. In a way, it's good, because if you can make it through that sharp right turn, you'll come out better for it. Just try to hold on and keep your seatbelt locked. All right.
Well, that's
so
very well said. That's a good. Mm-hmm.
So I promised you I was going to keep it simple. There's one more square happening with all that other stuff in Saturn and Pluto going on. The other square that's happening right now is on the other side of the solar system. We have Mars is also squaring with Uranus, the veritable bitch of the universe, squaring with two planets which are causing major problems. So Uranus is the planet of sudden disruptive changes. This occurred on the 13th, okay, and it's been going on for a while. Now, the thing we typically see when Mars squares Uranus, the planet of sudden changes, is we see sudden Earth changes like volcanic eruptions and earthquakes. But also, we tend to see sociological, and on the political front, we tend to see sudden battles taking place in the political system and in the government structure. Well, blah, blah, blah. What else is new? That seems to be all we're experiencing in politics anyway. So I want to just talk about, there's one more favorable thing. So we have two unfavorable things that we can probably, if we know that they're coming and we know how to deal with these things, we can make them work for us. It's kind of like martial arts. You just kind of redirect the punch and knock your opponent off balance. But there is a very, very good thing happening right now that I personally love. Let's see where it is. Okay. Well, it's happening between the wonderful, joyous, loving planet of Venus. Now, we all know what Venus represents. In ancient Greece, we know that Venus represented love and prosperity and all things that are joyous. Well, Venus, which is our real planet of love and money and relationships, has gone into the incredibly wonderful, loving sign of Cancer. Now, Venus in Cancer is a beautiful configuration, but it's actually trining Neptune. So we're going to explain a trine really quickly. We just explained a square, how difficult the square was. Imagine you're on that same road, Mom, and you're going 70 miles an hour, and all of a sudden you just have to make a small 20 or 30-degree deviation to the right or left. You can still maintain your speed. And, in fact, it can have a little bit of a whip effect if you know how to use it. In fact, race car drivers use a trine as a way of creating more speed and prosperity. So we have a trine happening with Venus, the planet of love, in the sign of emotions in Cancer, trining with my favorite planet of all, which rules Pisces, Neptune. Neptune is the planet of spirituality. It represents our approach to things of a deep spiritual, metaphysical nature. And, of course, Neptune rules Pisces. It's the god of water. Now, these two things are trining one another. So I guess if you just use a little bit of math and say, what happens when the planet of love meets and trines with the planet of spirituality and metaphysics, and they're both in their fellow water signs? I hope this isn't too complicated, but if it is, just very simply, keep your eyes and heart chakra open for matters of love in areas of healing and metaphysics and all things Venusian and Neptunian.
So it's going into the age of Aquarius, is what you're saying.
I'm saying that this week and this month we've got a nice trine happening between Venus and Neptune.
Okay.
It's been the dawning of the age of Aquarius since the 60s.
No, but now it's really manifesting because people were too slow.
Yeah, I just think
resistant.
It's a great week to find love with somebody on a deep spiritual level. It's also a great time that people don't know. Venus also represents money. So if you're going to endeavor into something very spiritual, like taking care of your body, like taking care of a new business that involves spirituality and metaphysics, it's going to prosper. This is what we talk about when we say we use astrology and Ayurveda as a way of creating great abundance in our life. Now, this last thing I'm going to say, during the new moon in Leo, we experience a great sense of physical power and health. Our health is improving. But in the world of Ayurvedic medicine, we experience this surge in our physical body while the new moon is in Leo because we raise our Pitta energy. Now, Leslie and I are both strong Pitta people, but we may say we don't want more Pitta energy, but in this regard, we'll take it because it's all the good stuff about Pitta. The bad elements of Pitta would be if we ran ourselves ragged and ended up getting stress-related disorder, but that's not what things are showing this week. So there it is.
That's very concisely said. What can I say?
You yelled at me last week for being too detailed.
I didn't yell. I said it nicely. I said
too much.
I said it was very esoteric, is what I said. But the short form of that is that
it's such a.
I
think what people have, our audience needs to realize that you are a double Gemini with an Aquarius and a lot of Aries and Libra in your chart. Your airy expansiveness doesn't love details. You just like knowing. You just like to know that it's happening. As far as details go, it's probably superfluous.
No.
Anyway.
Details are okay. I don't love them, but I accept them. But that was very well said. Tell people again how to reach you if they would like a reading or if they'd like further information. You also have an excellent Zoom session on Friday afternoons at 5 o'clock. Tell us about that, Scott.
Yeah.
How can they join in?
So we do a lot of readings here, and I also do psychotherapeutic counseling because people who get these readings find them very, very helpful and they want to continue, being able to not only get things off their chest, but also examine certain patterns, certain detrimental and inflammatory patterns from earlier in life. So we welcome people to call the office here at 631-375-8702. Happy to do a medical, intuitive, and astrological Ayurvedic reading for you. And what we do on Fridays, because we had so many lectures planned during this COVID virus that got canceled, we decided to start a couple of Zoom classes, free, totally just to be in service to people who are having a hard time. Zoom conference at 5 o'clock on Fridays. You can text or email me. My email is scottkeller98@gmail.com or drskeller@aol.com, and we will get you right into our Zoom conference. We'll help you.
Scott, I'm sorry.
Well, that's the Gmail account. I like the AOL account because I like to go old school. I'm like antiquated. It's drskeller@aol.com, or just call the office 631-375-8702. So anyway, what's going on with you?
We don't have to know the other one, right?
Too much info already.
No, it's not. Before, just back up a little bit, please. Scott, before you said something about Vedic astrology, and as if it was something that everybody knows about. I don't know when it started or what it is or why the Vedics were important. I wonder if you could go into that a little bit, please.
Sure. Well, the thing that really is intriguing to me, I realized a long time ago that this country has a little bit of an ADD nature to them. We like to look at astrology and just look at a very limited portion of it, like our sun signs. Like, oh, what sign are you? Well, I'm Pisces. What sign are you? Well, I'm Leo. That's very, very limited. We have 13, astral rocks floating around in the solar system and 12 houses that all govern who we are. And we know that the body's made up of 80% water, and those fluids are affected by those heavily weighted objects. So these, as the ancient Vedics knew that these elements created a certain personality type about us, a certain trends and character traits. But how do we measure them? Well, we use Ayurveda. Ayurvedic medicine is a way that we get to see how we're manifesting those astrological tendencies on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. And it's really simple. People make Ayurvedic medicine too complicated. It really just comes down to 3 different categories, and we're all a combination of those 3 categories. There's the type 1, which is the aggressive type A personality. That's myself and Leslie here. We're strong. They're called Pitta personalities. But we also have a lot of the middle one, the second one, which is Vata, the more etheric, metaphysical, spiritual energy. And they fall out of balance right now because there's so much going on. When Vata energies fall out of balance, which many of my clients are having a Vata imbalance right now, they experience a tremendous amount of confusion and digestive distress. And then Leslie and my favorite Ayurvedic type is Kapha. That's the slow, more methodical, gentle, long-enduring type, which we all want to raise that one right now because we're being asked to be inside right now and we're being asked to be relaxed. However, when Kapha is out of balance, they are prone to weight gain, lethargy, digestive disorders also, but most importantly, depression, which seems to be rampant right now. So we're all a combination of those three energies. And we try to balance them we balance them by changing our life and changing our lifestyle choices and changing our diet.
That's excellent.
That's
I do a lot of readings. I do a lot of readings also. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people now are very suicidal, as you know. So I deal with a lot of people who want to end their lives. And I know that we all have a few points of exit, we'll call it that, rather than death times. It could be as a baby, middle age, old, who knows. But we may choose to go or not to go. And a lot of people are choosing to leave. Now, is that the same as suicide? No, it's not. Suicide is when you leave at a time that's different from an exit point. So before we're born, we're given those exit times, usually about 3 or 4. And it's like the cat has 9 lives, you probably get 3 or 4. So the question is, when people are suicidal, can Ayurvedic medicine or just general counseling, from your viewpoint, I know that from my viewpoint, I help them. I say, oh, don't do it. And I tell them why they shouldn't do it. Now, what would you say about people who are suicidal?
This is a great question. We know that contractually we have chosen certain opportunities to stay or leave. You know, working at the Edgar Cayce Foundation for 28 years, he talked extensively and did readings for kids and parents who had suffered what we call sudden infant death syndrome. And that has, he said, everything to do with the karma being changed by the spirit who came into the incarnation and realized that maybe some of the circumstances changed, or maybe they were going to exercise one of those, as you very eloquently put it, one of those exit points. So what we do here is through astrology, through Ayurveda, yes, to answer your question, Joyce, we want to look and see and evaluate if the circumstances of the present incarnation are still suitable to achieving what you've come here to achieve. Many times they aren't, and we exercise our option to leave. And that does not necessarily mean suicide, which I vehemently disagree with. As with a strong Christian background, I think that strong Vedic background, we consider that one of the ultimate sins, and not honoring the vehicle that you chose, that other souls are waiting for. And if you have an exit point and it's agreed upon that you can do better with another opportunity, I think that's great. But in the astrological chart, much of this is revealed. It takes a little time to get to it, and sometimes we do past life regressions as well to try to get to that information. That's a great question. We haven't discussed that yet, Mom. It's a really great question.
Thank you. Do you think there are is there any religion that you've ever heard of, I haven't, that condones suicide?
Satanism, maybe.
Does anyone, other than Dr. Kardashian, whatever his name was, the fellow who helped people cross over, Dr. Death, whatever his name was, who helped people cross over who had terminal illnesses or who were incredibly depressed, and they put him in jail for a long time. But I'm just wondering, is it ever justified? And I personally don't think there are any master teachers or ascended masters or religions or anyone who would condone suicide. I don't see this, if there's any way it can be condoned. And I think that whatever the situation is, you have to readjust to it and do the best you can. If not, then you have to probably come back and do it again. And the people who cross over are not, if they choose to commit suicide, they're not going to burn in hell and all that. It's all baby stuff. That's ridiculous. But
there's a great book. there's a great book on this. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but, Neil
No,
Donald Walsh,
okay.
who wrote a couple of national bestsellers by Neil Donald Walsh. He addresses this exact situation, and he ironically, he's a devout Edgar Caycean and also a follower of Paramahansa Yogananda. So we know that he's coming from a very Vedic place. But he, in his book, too, talks about the movie What Dreams May Come. And What Dreams May Come is with Robin Williams and Annabella Sciorra. And they all lost their children, and she lost him, and she's left alone. And they're over on the other side. Robin and the kids are over on the other side experiencing exactly the utopia that they create with their own thought process. And she goes ahead and finally does the unthinkable and kills herself, and she goes into a very dark place. And the movie takes place entirely on the other cosmic side of this existence, in another plane. And the entire movie is based on how Robin Williams tells Annabella Sciorra over and over again, you create your own reality. You're only creating this reality of being in darkness in this black and white movie of a broken atrium and rotted plants, because that's what she believes will happen. The Vedics teach we are the gods and goddesses that created everything at the beginning of time. We have the power to create any reality we choose. And if we don't fully learn the lesson in this one, we got plenty of other ones coming to do it with, rather. When you think?
So yes, absolutely. So if you cross over as a suicide, it's like taking an uncharted trip. There's no one there to really guide you or help you. Your guides step back. The only time they will not really support you or help you for a period of time. And you kind of wander around, trying to find your way. But it's, as you just said, Scott, so brilliantly, that there may not be, it's too dark, it's too difficult. Normally when you cross over, it's a joyful experience. I've never heard of anything that wasn't. The periods of darkness that some people experience when they cross over are unusual. Those are just like testing times, or just to show you something that you need to see. But I don't think anyone really ever burns in hell or does anything like that. But I'm sorry, obviously you want to say something, Scott.
No, I agree with you 100%. I believe at the end of the day, and I've seen actual manifestation of this, is whatever you say is going to happen is what happens. To say anything else denies your power as the God that created everything at the beginning of this experience. It means if you go someplace and something else, outer entity has control over you, it means you're not the God that created everything, but that's not true, and that disempowers people. I know this personally because circumstances where I let other people have my power created darkness. But once I realized that I was the steerer of the ship, I can create any outcome. That means in this plane or other planes, based on what I say will happen. I do like your reference, though, because in the movie, Annabella Sciorra believed she was going to go where she went, and she was alone, just like you described. But that's her belief system. And until Robin Williams convinced her to have a new belief system, she stayed there. But when she changed her belief system, she went to paradise.
So do you think
you're right.
It's possible then for a suicidal person to cross over and be lost and then say, no, I want to go to a better place, they can go? Is that what you're saying?
I think they have to go through a transition like we're going through right now with all these 7 planets squaring right now. I think that graduation in college, high school, transitioning to the other side, it doesn't happen immediately. Rome wasn't built in a day. You have to go through a learning process. That is the Vedic concept, and we'll discuss that in upcoming shows, Mom, about the Vedic circles of progress that we have to go through. You don't just blink your eyes and turn into genie and say, okay, I'm on the other side, even though I put a gun in my head. I think that's unrealistic. I think there are lessons that have to go along with this.
Okay, so those lessons then are determined. We have less than a minute to go, but it's such an important subject. No time. Well, that's because we were listening to you. I had many calls. I will get to them.
Okay.
I'll, one way or another, either I'll refer them to you or I'll get to them myself. But the message that you gave is very important, that it has to be one of trying to stay positive. Don't commit suicide. So many people now are drinking and using drugs and crossing over. 3 things that are not good. That it's holding back the progress of this whole transition. That the purpose of the transition is to move forward into a more godly state.
100%. Yep. I agree 100%.
Unfortunately, we only have 9 seconds left. Dr. Scott Keller, thank you. Thank you. Even though Leslie's in the background, thank you, Leslie. And to all the folks, we'll get to your calls. This is Joyce Keller. God bless you. Keep us in your hearts and souls and prayers. Thank you, Dr. Scott.
God bless. My pleasure. Thank you, Mom. Bye-bye.